In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a Twitter ads reporting dashboard that's automated that your clients are going to love. More on that right after this. Hey there, and welcome to another AdSkills tutorial. I'm John Belcher, the teacher here at AdSkills, and in this video, I'm going to be sharing how I create automated Twitter reports that my clients love. So why this is so important, all of us that run agencies or consultancies hate building reports for our clients, but we have to do it in order to make sure that we're on the same page and working towards their goals. So what I'm going to do right now is show you a tool that I utilize to pull together my Twitter ad spend and the back-end data, so our Google Analytics or our CRM information, into a report and an automated dashboard that allows the clients to see only the numbers that they actually want, and it's automated so you don't have to go through and generate it every week. I think you're going to love it. So here's the agenda for this video. First, I'm going to talk about what this is in plain English. Then I'm going to talk about why it's so important. Then we're going to walk through the required steps and finally some of the advanced tactics. So when covering what it is, it's just an automated report that your clients actually want. I can't tell you how many agencies I see that produce reports that are just like the rosy picture of everything. Yeah, we're doing all this. This looks great. We've got all these conversions. But on the back end, when you're looking at Google Analytics, you may have 100 conversions in Twitter and 2 in GA. What they care about is the one that's actually at the bottom of the funnel, what their real numbers are, whether that be using Google Analytics, if they're using a CRM like HubSpot or Infusionsoft, pulling in those numbers, whatever it is, you want to make sure you're giving them the most realistic numbers possible, because when you do that and you're actually meeting your performance goals, they absolutely love you. So what this report is, we use Google Sheets to pull in our Twitter spend data and our Google Analytics goal data, or you can use your CRM, you can do it manually or use Zapier. We're going to combine it and present it in Google Data Studio. So the tool we utilize to pull all this information is called Supermetrics. It allows us to go in and combine our Twitter ads data with our Google Analytics integration. We can refresh it hourly, and we have a real-time dashboard that constantly updates for our clients inside of Google Data Studio. They can go in and refresh the data, look at the most recent day, 7-day, 14-day, whatever that is, to see campaign performance. And so that way they don't have to be constantly asking you for a report. So once again, I think you're really going to love this. The reason this is so important, well, here at AdSkills, we want to make sure that we're helping people be the best agencies possible, not just another agency. So clients don't like getting just the pretty picture. You want to show them the truth, and when you're actually hitting your performance numbers, that's when they're going to love you. Finally, automating it. You want to stop pulling reports. I don't want you to spend your time pulling reports. You don't want to spend your time pulling reports. If you go through and plan and set things up correctly the first time and then build in automation, it makes your life a heck of a lot easier. So what you need to do to make this a habit, you can separate yourselves from the others by building these types of reports that focus on the good stuff and not just being another agency. And when you use automation, it makes your life easier. So getting someone that can come in and focus on this inside of your business will make it so much easier for you to make your clients happy and be focused on new client acquisition. So how we're going to help? I'm going to show you how this works. I'm going to give you the Google Sheet template. And I'm going to give you the Data Studio template so you can go through and start producing these for your clients. So the required steps, the absolute can't skips. First, you have to plan out your tabs. It's really important to go through and lay out all the information that you want. Then you're going to go in, pull in your data, set it and refresh it, build a master sheet, and create a dashboard in Data Studio. I'm going to walk you through each one of these steps. I'll kind of talk about what we're going to do. We'll head over there and do it, and then we'll come back. So step number 1, planning out your tabs. You're going to have 3 tabs inside of this first document: a master sheet, a Twitter ads data sheet, and a Google Analytics data. Or if you can use CRM data instead of Google Analytics, you can use Zapier, or you can manually upload the data into your spreadsheets. We just want to make sure our tabs are nicely organized, and then we can pull the information together in our master sheet to make actual useful data out of it. So let's head over and I'll show you what this is going to look like as I plan this out. Okay, so when we go through and we create our dashboard reports, we've got the different tabs for our different data sources, and then the master sheet on top where we're going to combine them. So this is a very simple example. Sometimes with my dashboards, I've got hundreds of columns depending on all the different traffic sources and metrics that we're measuring up to. So this is going to be extremely simplified, but it'll give you an idea of how I utilize these dashboards to create dynamic reports for clients. So on the master sheet, what I really care about is 3 things: the date that I can unify and pull metrics from, the Twitter ad spend, and the Google Analytics conversions that are only going to be coming from Twitter's CPC filtered. So basically what we're going to be able to do with this is we can pull obviously those individual metrics in. We can also create custom metrics inside of Data Studio. So we can take conversions divided by ad spend to figure out our CPA. We can measure our ad spend daily and our conversions daily in a graph. So I'm just doing something very basic like that. But at the end of the day, this master sheet is where we can come in and say, here's all of the numbers by date. and then we can go inside a data studio and create those custom metrics there to try and minimize what's actually here in the sheet. So master sheet is very simple: date, ad spend, conversions. Our Twitter ad spend sheet. So I figured out I wanted date, campaign name. We were doing follower targeting, so that's what I'm going to pull in. We can figure out which handles we were following, and then ad spend. And so the way I found these out, two things. When you actually pull in the data, this is going to get overwritten. So really, this just helps us line out what we want to pull into our query. And then the second thing is how I actually found this out. So you go to add-ons, Supermetrics, launch sidebar, and this is where you can look at all the data sources available. This is where you can look at all of the data sources that are available to you, and then all of the metrics you can pull in. So as you can see, your data source, there's tons of them. Most important ones for most people: AdRoll, Bing, Adobe Analytics if you use it, DoubleClick, Facebook ads, AdWords, Analytics, all the Google products, LinkedIn ads, MailChimp, Moz, Optimizely, SEMrush, Stripe, Twitter ads, Yahoo Gemini, YouTube, Yandex, and then you've got other custom ones down here. You can pull in, your Facebook public data, your Twitter, your Tumblr, Reddit, Pinterest, etc. So there's tons of data that's available to be pulled in. I'm using Twitter ads for this, so I'm going to make this the drop down. And so what you do is you select your account, and then you're going to select you'll select your data source, and you'll select your account. So we're using the Justin Brook account for this one. The dates, you can pull in from any date that you want, and then you can do it up through any date. What I love to do is I figured out, it took me a little while, if you type in now, it will pull it up through the exact hour that you're pulling data, so that way you can always be up to date. And then you're going to choose your metrics. So what I want to see is cost, so ad spend is going to be in this row, and then what's going to come before that split by date, campaign, and then similar to follower. As you can see here, there is tons of information that you can pull in. So it's really just figuring out what you want for this query to be able to do this. So once again, I go through and I figure out these columns beforehand. In the next video, I'll show you how to actually pull in these queries. The last thing I want to show you is with the Google Analytics conversions. What I'm going to do is date, UTM source medium, UTM campaign, and conversions. So that way we can say, we're going to filter and say we're only going to pull in conversions for this UTM source medium, which is Twitter CPC. That way we've got clean data. We've got only our Twitter campaign spend data and only our Twitter conversions inside of Google Analytics. Then we'll be able to match those up in the master sheet and be off to the races. So let's head back to the tutorial and go to the next step. So once you know the type of data that you want to have inside of your tabs, we're going to go in and actually set up our queries inside of Supermetrics to pull that data in. The most important thing to remember is to use the date as the first column in all of your tabs. That's the one thing that we can unify everything together. And then finally, we want to make sure we refresh our data hourly. So it's important to set up the refresh now. Otherwise, you're going to forget, and the client will be like, well, hey, why isn't there any data in here? You want to make sure you do it before you even send it over to your client. The reason it's so important to use the data is the common factor. So we're going to use some functions here in a second, SUMIF, VLOOKUPs, COUNTIF, things like that, to pull this data together. The date is really the biggest opportunity to unify your ad spend and your conversions, pull it together into a single row that has everything lined up. So you could say, we spent this much on Twitter ads this day, and we had this many conversions, and then go through and calculate your CPA. It's sortable, it's filterable by date. You can use it inside a data studio. And then you can, once again, you use that date as your unifying factor to build formulas. So let's head over to the worksheet, and I'll show you how I do that. Okay, so once again, our master sheet is going to be calculated columns, so we don't have to do anything with that right now. What we want to do is go over and start with our Twitter ad spend. So I'll come over here, I'll click on this first box A1, and so I've got the query set up that we did last time. I'm going to move this from December 1st is the time frame that we want to do this. So it's going to be our Twitter ads, manager account, Justin Brook account, select the dates from December 1st, 2017 up through now. Metrics, we're going to pull in cost. We're going to split that by date, campaign, similar to follower. And I don't have to filter anything right now, so I'm just going to click Get Data to Table. And so this will go through and run a query. It'll pull from the Twitter ads platform, and it'll pull all this information in here so we can see the date. The campaign was SEMrush giveaway awareness, and then these are the handles that we were targeting. And then you have the ability here to go in and see the ad spend for each one. So we've got this all the way up. This campaign ran from the 1st through the 7th. So everything after that is not important. No ad spend there. So what we could do now is go back and modify. We can change this from the 1st through the 7th because that's the only time frame that we actually had ad spend. So I can click Apply Changes. It'll go back and it'll shorten this up. So now we have less data in here. The biggest thing you want to make sure is that with Supermetrics, what's really important with Google Sheets is you can only have 2 million cells of data inside of your sheets. So you want to make sure that you can remove as many cells as possible, because I like to make things automated and make sure I don't have to constantly come in and remove stuff to make sure that my expressions work. So 2 million cells is a ton of cells, but if you're pulling in a ton of information, it can get bogged down very, very quickly. So there you go. We've got the data we need there. So we're going to go over to our Google Analytics conversions. Okay, so for our Google Analytics, I'm going to use GA, our AdSkills account, December 1st through the 7th. The metrics, so goal 8, you have to know the number of the goal inside of your account if it's not transactions. So this was goal 8 was the SEMrush completions. So that's what we want to pull in here. We're split by date. We're going to add source medium and then campaign. Those are our different columns. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come and filter. So we're going to add a filter here. So source medium. And I'm actually going to do this as 2 different ones. I forgot. It's a little bit more difficult to do it by both. So source will be Twitter. And then medium is CPC. So what we should get now is inside of this, it'll pull in date, UTM source medium, campaign, and conversion. So goal 8 completions is what that's going to say. So if we pull this query, it'll come in, pull all this information in here. Great, we're in a good spot. We've got all of this. Now the last thing that we want to do is when you use Google Analytics, what we want to make sure that we've done here is we've created what's called a named range inside of Excel. This is how we're going to use our VLOOKUPs. So what I do is pick the box, and then I go all the way down. We'll go to Data, Named Ranges, and we're going to do, I'm just going to call this GA Data. And we'll use this here later, but you have to make sure that you've got your data pulled in order to make sure that your VLOOKUP will work always inside of this range. The last thing you need to do is come in and set up your refresh. So I'll go Add-ons, Supermetrics, and then we'll do Schedule, Refresh, and Emailing. And so as you come in here, you've got this set up. I want this to refresh hourly, and I'll click Store Trigger. Now, you'll need a paid account in order to utilize the hourly refresh. It's important to have that, especially to have all the data sources in there, to make sure that your data's, you're talking about real time with your clients, it's important to have this. So what I've done with Supermetrics is, yes, it's a paid account. In order to do this, you can get a free trial. We've worked out a deal that you can get 10% off with them when you sign up if you just type in your coupon code AdSkills. So that's just the basic number you need. They'll give you 10% off. I get the yearly, the annual pro pack. It is the easiest ROI that I've ever made. I get extra money for putting together these dashboards. It pays for itself with a single client. It makes a huge difference and people absolutely love them. So I would highly recommend getting it ASAP. I'll show you here in just a second with Data Studio why this is so incredible, but want to make sure you know you have to get your hourly refresh. It's a pro product and you can get a discount if you use the coupon code AdSkills. So make sure you click on the link below and we'll get you through to that offer. All right. So now you've got your 2 queries in here. What we're going to do next is go through and talk about how you build your master sheet. Okay, so now you've got your data into your sheets. We're going to go through and build our master sheet. And this is the one sheet to rule them all. We're going to use this sheet with a Google Data Studio to pull in all of our information. We're going to use the SUMIF function with Twitter to pull in all of our ad spend to say, if the date equals this, we want to sum all of these campaign spends together and say this is our Twitter ad spend. And then for Google Analytics data, we're just going to be seeing a single date and a single number of conversions. We're going to use what's called a VLOOKUP. So it's a table that says, if the date equals this, then pull this number. And so I'll show you how to go through and do that right now. All right, so time to build our master sheet. And the first thing we have to do is come in here and enter the dates that we want to be using. So as I found, our campaign was from 12/1 through 12/7 of 2017. So I'm going to come through and delete those. And what we're going to do here, so our Twitter ad spend, what we want to do is build an equation that says, if the date is equal to this, come through here to the Twitter ad spend, find every possible cost that it happened on the first, add them together, and then sum them into a single line. So what we'll type in is equals sum if. The range is the range that we want to look for the criteria. So range is where we're looking, criteria is what we're looking for, and then sum range is if those match, what they're going to add together. So the criteria is the date, the first date being A2. We want to say, where do we look to see if it equals December 1st? So we're going to come over to our Twitter ad spend. We're going to look in these columns, so A2 through A99, and then we're going to add a comma, And what we want to do is come back here to the master sheet and say, if something in this range equals this cell, so A2, comma, what are they going to sum together? So it will be in this range, it will be D2 through D99. And so now I click enter. So it should be $118.66. If I come back here and I highlight these, 118.66, bingo. So now what I should be able to do is just drag this down. A3. So we basically spent $115 a day for this campaign. So now all I would do is change this to a $, and we're good there. So now what we need to do is get our Google Analytics conversions in here. And so once again, we've got our conversion data, but what you'll notice is that we don't have anything that we need to sum together because they're individual dates. So what we're going to want to do is go through here and say, okay, for the date of December 1st, the Twitter CPC was the UTM medium that people were coming in. The campaign was SEM Rush. We had 6 goal completions. So what do we want to look at here? Well, we want to say we already did our named range in the last one, which is how we build a VLOOKUP. So what we are going to tell the computer to do is look inside of this range, find the date, and then pull in the column. So we're going to pull in column 1, 2, 3, number 4. So this would be equals VLOOKUP. Our search key is what we want to look for, so we want to look for this. Our range, we called it GA data. And then what do we want to pull in? We want to pull in number 4, column number 4. So once again, VLOOKUP, look inside this named range for this value to find column number 4. So it should be 6. If I pull these down, 6251353, 6251353. So we've got our data now pulled up. So now we technically could come in and do our cost per acquisition, our cost per lead, whatever it is that we're looking for, and we could pull it down like this. It's not what I want to do. I want to make sure that we've got this more set up in a way that makes more sense inside of our Google Data Studio dashboard, so it's a visual representation rather than just sending over a spreadsheet. And that's what we're going to talk about how to do right now. All right, so the last step, we're going to head over to Data Studio. We're going to create our dashboard. So I will show you, we're going to connect our data source. We're going to pull in our major statistics, so ad spend and conversions. I'm going to show you how to create a calculated field so that way you can see our cost per conversion. I'll show you how to do that. And then I'll use Google Analytics integration to pull in our performance table. So we can say here was the particular UTM parameters that we're looking at, source, medium, campaign, content. You have all those options. And you can see the performance, the number of conversions, and the conversion rate from each one of those. So really amazing stuff. So to help you execute all this, make sure to check out the Google Sheet example in the link below and the Google Data Studio template. So that way you've got access to this information. I'll head over there and I will show you how to do this right now. So if you've never seen the inside of Google Data Studio, here it is. It's this beautiful, clean, blank slate that you have the ability to create whatever you want. But sometimes it's really hard to figure out exactly what you want to add to it. So I'm going to give you some ideas here. Well, we're going to build a very basic example report, and you can go through and make magic happen. So the first thing you have to do is select your data source. I'm creating a new data source. We're going to look at our Google Sheets. There's tons of data sources in here. You can see there's a ton of information from all different kinds of places. You just come check it out. Data Studio is a free tool. The only thing you have to pay for in here is the Supermetrics because it has all of these pre-built integrations. So I'm going to select Google Sheets, and then I'm going to use the Twitter Ads Client Report example. We're going to pull from the master sheet, use the headers. We'll click Connect. What it's going to do is going to pull in all this information. What I want to do here, so ad spend is a currency, not a number. So I'm going to change that to USD. Conversions is a number. We're going to sum both of these. We can click Add to Report. And so now we've got this information now inside. So how I always start my templates is I start by adding a date filter. So I have the ability to come in here, and I'm going to set this from December 1st through December 7th. You would probably make this just the last week or yesterday. That's how I've done it for a lot of clients. I'm just showing you an example because this is the one that we've got set up from a previous campaign. So December 1st through December 7th is the time frame we're looking at. And then I want to do is come in, I want to add a couple scorecards. So these are just going to be our big metrics. So I'll come add this in here. And what I want to look at is Twitter ad spend. So I can stylize this and say, I want this to be all centered. I want to be able to compare it to previous period. So let's say if we did this, if I change up the date range, I made this only December 5th through the 7th. and I clicked apply, it's going to show the difference. It went down slightly, our ad spend. So you've got that. I'm going to copy this, move it over, and I'm going to change this from ad spend to conversions. So we can see that during this time frame, it went up 37.5%. So our ads got better in the last 2 days versus the days before that. The other thing you can see, this is kind of an ugly number here. So I would change this. If you come back to your metric, you have the ability to click on the little pencil here and change this. So I call this SEMrush opt-ins, something like that. And now it'll change the name. And so we've got that. And then the last thing we can do is build what's called a calculated metric. And so if I click on this, we've got ad spend, conversions, and then a renamed opt-ins, but I want to create a new metric. So I come down here and I'm going to call this cost per opt-in. And then what we can do here is we can take our Twitter ad spend divided by our GA conversions. I want to have that in there. And so now this should be dollars per conversion. We'll click save. Done. And then cost per opt-in. It does not yet. It is not a calculated metric. So what I want to do is come back here. Cost per opt-in. I want to change this from numeric to currency. And so now it should be a $. So it's $31 an opt-in. It's worse than it was the 2 days prior. So that's something that we would want to make sure we look at this. What I really want to do right now is I'm just giving you some ideas on how you can utilize this. The other types of things I would do is I could add in a graph here. So I could show over our time frame. Here was the date. So our cost per opt-in, here's how it went. You have to make sure when you do this that you're looking at the right number. So I'd want this to be date, and I want it to be ascending. So we could look at our cost per opt-in. What I really want to do here is look at our ad spend, and it's ascending. So that way we can see it's basically the same amount of spend per day. And then we could go in here and create another one that is our conversions per day. And so we can see that we had a lot more on the 6th than we did on the 5th and the 7th. And there's just a million different things you can do with this. You can also come in here. So we've got graphs showing each one of those. You could add them. You could have them in the same graph. The biggest thing you want to pay attention to, however, is that you're talking in the 115 versus the 3 to 5. And so it's going to look very compressed. So it's really up to you how you want to go through and do that. If I change the date range to go from the 1st through the 7th, you get a little bit of a better picture of how this actually looks. So that was kind of our ups and downs. You could change the color on this. So you can change the style from this to, we'll do a red. And so now you know our ad spend and our opt-ins. We can see that. We could see our cost per opt-in, how that changes per day. So the 4th was terrible. The rest of the days were okay. The other thing you can do here is this is the pulling from the information from our Google Sheet. The other thing we could do is come back here and we could add a new, let's say I want to add in a table. And we could look at a different data source. So we want to use our AdSkills Google Analytics. And what we're going to want to do is have our source medium. And then we'll do campaign. Oops. And then we could add in here, so it's goal number 8 is the one we cared about, SEMrush opt-in completions. And then we could also add in our SEMrush opt-in conversion rate. And so now what we have the ability to do is we've got all of this information. We can see that out of all of our traffic sources for these opt-ins, our Twitter CPC was not a huge driver of it. In fact, if I just get rid of campaign right now, we can look and see that the platform we were doing a viral promotion was responsible for the vast majority of our opt-ins. Twitter was only responsible for 25 in this time frame. So we can see all the different places we did this. We can break it down by campaign. We can look at ads. We can do all of those different pieces of information. But this is a very handy thing that took me about 10 minutes to create. You've seen the entire process in order to be able to deliver to our clients. So now all I have to do is click view. They can go in and they can mess with stuff. So let's say they want to look at stuff from the 4th to the 5th. They can alter it up. They can see how things change during that time frame. They can see the cost per opt-in. As you see here, the increase is not a good thing. We want that to be a decrease. So you can come up to your style and you can change this to red and this to green. If we click view and we look at the 5th through the 6th, if it went up, so this one went down 24.8% versus the 2 days prior to that. So here's what we saw. Here's kind of where all the traffic was coming from, etc. Then all you have to do is you click on the plus sign to share your report. You can share it. You can either share the link with this, or you can add people's names. And now you've got, your client has a real-time dashboard that they can utilize, obviously for Twitter ads, but you saw there's a ton of ability to use this with different data sources. So it's really the ability to go through and create something that's real-time for your clients. This is an absolutely amazing tool that a lot of people love. I've been using this for a long time and had a lot of success. So hopefully that gives you some ideas to work with. All right, so this is just barely scratching the surface on what you can do with Supermetrics and Google Data Studio. If you want to go deeper, I love this. This is something I think is super valuable that we should do for every single one of our clients. One of the things that I really love to do is funnel tracking. So I'll go through and map out using Google Analytics goals, events, and UTM tracking the steps for each step in the funnel. We can show the cost per acquisition and the conversion rate per step for everybody, or we can filter it by source medium. It's super valuable information that your clients love. You can also do things like timer tracking, VSL consumption, page consumption, scroll tracking, a whole bunch of other stuff that's possible using Google Analytics, Google Data Studio, Supermetrics, combining it with ad spend. So if you want to learn more about how to do this, check it out in Conversion Tracking Masters. I'll teach you how to use Google Analytics events, the UTM tracking plan, and then the stuff I talked about, VSL consumption, timer tracking, scroll tracking. There's a lot of really cool stuff in there that I'd love to be able to teach you, and that way you can turn it into a super valuable dashboard for your clients. All right, so now you've seen my process for going through and creating awesome automated Twitter reports for my clients that they absolutely love. It shows them the real numbers that they care about. So this is something your team would like to have. Make sure you check out Supermetrics. They give you a free 14-day trial. They've given us a coupon for all AdSkills students. So you just type in the coupon code AdSkills as upon purchase, and they'll give you 10% off of your purchase. So feel free to ask any questions in the comments down below. That's the tools that you need. I put the resources, the example spreadsheet, and the example dashboard in there for you. Outside of that, it's really just letting your brain go wild and figuring out how you can use this to give your clients better reporting. If you found this tutorial helpful and want to be notified whenever I put out another one, make sure to hit the subscribe button on the screen right now. If you'd like to join more than 20,000 subscribers who get our daily newsletter called The Daily Edge, talking about cutting edge strategies and paid traffic, make sure to text Daily Edge to 44222.